Hello again folks, excuse the long video, but I've touched on the Lucy Connolly case a few times now in previous videos. And I'm doing this one because I believe people need the all-important context to what happened to her. And yes, her conviction is disturbing. I don't think it's right. Many others agree with me, and she should be released immediately because I believe that she and some others languishing in prison are political prisoners. There's no bones about it. And so I was doing my research and I came across a thread on X by an account called The Stark Naked Brief. And they explained everything about this case in such a short, straightforward, concise, straight to the point manner that I got in touch and asked them if I could put it up on here, and they agreed because, like me, they think Lucy Connolly's plight should be shared everywhere. So if you're watching and you agree, then please share this video everywhere. Now, Lucy Connolly's case hasn't gone away, and neither has the injustice. A few days ago, journalist Alison Pearson, she interviewed her husband Ray, who shared previous undisclosed details about Lucy's ordeal. And the context is harrowing. It really is harrowing. What's happened to Lucy Connolly could happen to anyone, so let this be a warning. So anyway, the following details are used by kind permission of X account The Stark Naked Brief. Now, Lucy was one of more than 1,500 people arrested following the unrest after the July 29th murders of 3 little girls by Axel Rudabakana. She took no part in the riots, she wasn't even near them. Her crime involved a tweet posted at 8:30 in the evening of the murders. It read, and I quote, "Mass deportation now, set fire to all the X hotels, full of the X for all I care. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it." End quote. It was a savage, emotionally charged post. But set fire to X for all I care is very different to calling for outright arson. She walked the dog, came home, and deleted the tweet. It was visible for less than 4 hours. The next morning, as parents arrived to drop their children off at Lucy's home-based childcare business, police showed up and arrested her. Ray, her husband, had no idea what was going on. The children Lucy had cared for included those from Nigerian, Somali, Jamaican, Bangladeshi, Lithuanian and Polish families, hardly the CV of a vehement racist. A young duty solicitor commissioned a psychiatric report, but the assessment lasted just an hour, conducted over a video call. Nothing like the thorough evaluation she received years earlier after the horrific death of her infant son Harry due to NHS negligence. Then things turned cynical. The police and CPS released a public statement claiming Lucy had told officers she, and I quote, did not like immigrants and that children weren't safe around them, end quote. Except she didn't say that. The full police transcript read, and I quote, "I'm well aware that we need immigrants. I'm well aware that if I go to the hospital, there are immigrants working there, and the hospital wouldn't function without them. I'm well aware of the difference between legal immigrants and illegal migrants, and they are not checked, and what they might have done in their country of origin. It's a national security issue, and they're a danger to children," end quote. Lucy's mother challenged the CPS directly. They eventually corrected the statement on their website. One would think she had a solid case for defamation. Police also accused her of additional racism, which boiled down to Lucy once calling a friend a PIKEY after he'd jokingly called her a Brummie see you next Tuesday. All considered, she was formally charged under Section 19 of the Public Order Act on the 10th of August, publishing material intended to stir up racial hatred. She applied for bail but was swiftly denied it. And this is where double standards become too hard to ignore. Last weekend, Labour MP and Mayor Dan Norris was arrested on suspicion of RAPE, child abduction and child abuse offences, along with misconduct in public office. Within hours, he was released on conditional bail. Lucy, in contrast, was held on remand for weeks and weeks on suspicion of a non-violent crime. Reports conflict on the timeline, but all agree she was held before she entered a plea and up to her sentencing. Lawyers told Pearson they were astonished by the denial of bail. Stuck in jail, Lucy faced a grim choice: fight and risk more months inside waiting, or plead guilty and get out quicker. She chose the latter. Ray gathered character references for her sentencing hearing. One came from a Nigerian-born doctor whose children Lucy cared for. The doctor said, "I have never had any cause to doubt Lucy's kindness." Lucy even acted as a formal referee when her family members applied for British citizenship. "She personally drove to my home to drop these letters herself," the doctor wrote. But none of this appeared to matter to His Honour Judge Melbourne Inman KC, Recorder of Birmingham, when he handed down Lucy's sentence on 17th October, 2 full months after she was denied bail. He made sweeping assumptions and politically charged remarks during the hearing, some of which you can see in this screenshot here. Inman also referenced other tweets that included further racist remarks but failed to explain how. The example cited came from a WhatsApp message Lucy sent on the 5th of August, the day before her arrest, as you can see here. Then he claimed Lucy showed no sympathy to the Southport victims, but her infamous tweet included the line, and I quote, "I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure," end quote. She voiced sympathy from the start, explicitly, and it didn't matter. 31 months in prison for her. Compare that to another case Inman presided over, Harris Ghaffar, 19, who pled guilty to violent disorder after joining a masked mob that stormed a Birmingham pub last August. Ghaffar kicked at the door while staff and patrons barricaded themselves inside. He got 20 months. Ray summed it up to Pearson bluntly. "They want to use her as an example. Political, maybe, but I think they just want to send a warning. Watch what you say, because if you don't, the consequences could be horrendous." Contrasting her case to fellow non-violent Southport protester Megan Morrison, a 27-year-old from Workington, Cumbria, makes Lucy's punishment even more excessive. Megan, too, was charged with intent to stir up racial hatred. Her post uploaded to Facebook showed a photo of violent disorder outside a Holiday Inn in Rotherham, housing asylum seekers, with a caption suggesting the same should happen outside another hotel. But when Megan was sentenced this March, she received a 6-month jail term, suspended for 18 months. She was ordered to complete 160 hours of unpaid work and abide by a 2-month nighttime curfew. Judge Nicholas Barker accepted her remorse. She had apologised and withdrawn from social media. And unlike Inman, who used his hearings to lecture offenders about diversity, Barker kept it more grounded, as you can see in this screenshot here. It seems some of our judges are capable of fair or fairer justice. Others are simply not. Perhaps folks abroad looking on, maybe even some liberals, can now see why the British justice system is under such intense and growing scrutiny. There's simply too much inconsistency. And so the latest update in non-violent Southport protester Lucy Connolly's case is as revealing as it is disturbing. Now, recently she was eligible for release on temporary licence. In fact, she's been eligible for this since November last year. Now, usually, release on temporary licence permits are approved to inmates, and they can spend up to 2 nights a month at home. And this is a policy usually intended to ease reintegration. Now, serious offenders, such as those convicted of violent, sexual or terrorist offences, are specifically excluded from this scheme. Lucy falls into none of these categories, and yet they denied it to her. In fact, by all normal criteria, she qualifies and is an ideal candidate. So while she's languishing inside, refused a temporary permit, 2 inmates convicted of causing death by dangerous driving have already been granted home detention curfew, a more generous release scheme than release on temporary licence. They're at home. Lucy is the mother of a 12-year-old girl whose school behaviour has reportedly deteriorated since her incarceration. Her husband, Ray Connolly, is also battling bone marrow failure. And yet none of this made a difference. Now, what I read off there were the words of ex-account The Stark Naked Brief. They generously and kindly gave me permission to spiel this off on here, and I did so because I completely agree. And people need to know the harrowing context here regarding Lucy Connolly's plight in prison, a place where she really shouldn't be and didn't deserve to go to in the first place. I believe she is a political prisoner, and I believe the state are using her to set an example. Yes, what she wrote was stupid, but she wrote it in anger and then deleted it hours later. I don't believe any of the violence of the Southport riots were down to her social media account or this particular tweet. Keir Starmer had already labelled everyone who took part in the protests, the riots, and even voiced concerns about everything on social media as the far right. And he strong-armed local authorities into jailing these people in double quick time. Lucy Connolly being one of them. So there we go. Thank you to X account The Stark Naked Brief for allowing me to read off the transcript of a thread they put on X regarding this. I simply couldn't have said it better, so there we go. And please, if you agree, then share this video everywhere, because people need to know the truth. It's that simple. And that's that. I am Past 49. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, Roger Trout.